Soft and kind when I was crying. Daddy's hands were hard as steel when I'd done wrong. Daddy's hands were always gentle, but I've come to understand there was always love in Daddy's hands. Happy Father's Day to everyone who's watching this Facebook Live or on YouTube. That was one of my favorite songs, and still is, for all of you out there who are dads or who are stepping into the role of being a dad. I honor you, and we both honor you today on this wonderful Father's Day. And I'm T.U. Knapp, and this is Dr. Michael Gross. Say hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you for that beautiful little song and sharing that. Happy Father's Day to all fathers and to soon to be fathers and mothers that are now taking the place of fathers. Happy Father's Day.
Exactly. That song was performed by Holly Dunn. And I can't even give you the details right now. I found it on YouTube. It was one of my favorites. And I know that there were many, many times when I would play it for my father, especially after he ended up in the hospital one Father's Day. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is one of my very, very favorite pictures of my dad. And I know that everyone has images of their dad, memories of their dad. So, take a few minutes today, whether my dad is gone. So if you have your dad handy, make sure you connect with him. And if your dad is somewhere else, just make sure that you take a moment to be grateful and send love, because love transcends all limits. And it's such a beautiful day to be blessed with the fact that we're all here. So on that note, I'm here because it's Sunday, mine too now. And once again, that's Dr. Michael Gross. And we are here to share some of our, Michael's here to share his words of wisdom regarding Father's Day. And my gift to all of you was the song beautifully performed by Holly Dunn. And before I get into that, I also want to go ahead and let you know that Dr. Michael Gross is the author of the Spiritual Primer. I did that really well, didn't I?
You did great.
Okay. This is an amazing book, and I highly recommend, if you haven't gotten a copy yet, you need to get one. Okay? Because this is such an enlightening, eye-opening book, and you have no idea all the golden nuggets that are in it. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Michael, because that way we can be respectful of your time and you can get back to your time with your dad. Hopefully he got to hear this song. And remember, this is also being, it's going to be up on my Facebook page and on Michael's Facebook page. So you can watch the replay or share that with your dad. Okay. So, on that note, Dr. Michael Gross is an author, professional keynote speaker, transformational coach, and an entrepreneur. For more than 3 decades, he has been on a spiritual path as an intuitive, a healer, spiritual counselor, and a teacher. Through the guidance of spirit, Michael has assisted others in their personal quest for self-empowerment, helping them to create the lives they have long sought and to bring forth their intuitive abilities. Michael teaches classes in spirituality, self-empowerment, Reiki, and other modalities. In concert with God, the true source, he has also achieved great success and miraculous healings. He remains humble, knowing that the work that he does all comes from God, the true source. Michael lives in Lakewood, Washington, and he has just launched his nonprofit called the International Institute of Self-Empowerment. I am honored to be part of that, and I am so blessed to be part of his life. And on that note, I am turning the floor over to you, or the platform over to you, Dr. Michael Gross.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for the kind words. And, I thought I'd share some of my thoughts about Father's Day and then share some thoughts with you about fathers. And, for me, and I can only speak about me and my excitement, I wanted to have children. I wanted to have at least 2 or 3. And I was really excited when my wife got pregnant. And it's wow. And I didn't care whether I had a boy or a girl. I just wanted a healthy, beautiful baby. And when I say that, I wanted a girl and I wanted a boy, but I don't care who came first. Whatever was to be is be, and it is what it is. That's kind of what it was. And then my wife, went through all the tests. We were excited. She's going to have a baby. And of course, we didn't know the sex, we didn't want to know the sex, as long as it was happy and healthy. And just to share a little thing, so she was kind of running a little late over 9 months, and the doctor said, well, take her for a ride on a bumpy road. Okay, that's what they said those days, so that's what I did. Went on a bumpy road, nothing happened. And then we did all kinds of things the doctor suggested. And then he said, well, we might have to do a C-section, but we'll try one more time. And at that point, there was a Catholic hospital, and they wouldn't let the fathers in while the mother was giving birth. And okay. So I took her to the hospital. She was having contractions, and they said, well, this is going to be a long time. Why don't you just go home? Don't wait, and we'll call you. Okay. So I got home around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had this dream around 7:30 that the hospital called and said, you, Michael Gross, yep, you're having a child. I'll be right there. They said, no, don't you want to know the sex? And they said, yes, a boy. I said, I'll be right there, and thank you. Well, and I looked at the clock, and it was 7:30. No phone call. 10 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang, and that exact scenario took place to a T, exact words. And I was so excited. And wow, and I couldn't wait to get down there. I called my mother-in-law. I wanted to call the whole world. I'm a dad. It was so exciting. And then something hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh my gosh, the responsibility I've got as a father. Well, let's see, I can't afford to lose my job. I can't afford to make any changes. I have a huge responsibility to my wife and my child. And that was kind of, I don't know, awe-inspiring. It was exciting, but it felt a very heavy responsibility. Now, I'm sure that today mothers who are fatherless feel the same way. But I can only talk as how I felt as a father. So I wanted to continue on that vein. And I was so thrilled and tickled pink. And there's my son, and I'm happy. And the doctor said, well, it took a long time for you to get pregnant with my wife, and said, you ought to start trying, within a month or 2 after birth. So we tried. And 12 or 13 months later, my long time, got pregnant again and delivered. And the second child, so I thought and I was thrilled, boy, I didn't know what I was going to have. So my wife said to me, we got to get to the hospital. Yeah. You had a slow time. So I got in the car, took out the garbage pails while I was there. You got to hurry. I get behind a school bus. Like, I'm sorry, I can't pass the school bus. They won't let me pass. There are cops around. I can't get help. So as I got her to the to the hospital, and I called. Well, we didn't call. They were expecting us, and she was starting to give birth already. They could see the head coming through. By the time I got the car parked, she had already given birth. Now I had a beautiful daughter as well. I went, whoa. I hit a home run. I got a beautiful, handsome son and a beautiful daughter. What else can you ask for in life? Oh, now I really got to keep my job. I got to keep my mouth shut. I can't be independent. And I felt that weight of being very responsible for my children. And I'm sure, many men, not all, but many men feel that way. And the mothers feel that way, but in a lot different maternal way that is probably as powerful and not more powerful than how a male feels. But nevertheless, being excited as a father, and I said, wow, I had great aspirations for my children. And my dreams for my children was that they would be healthy and successful, whatever they chose to do. And I didn't really care what they chose to do, as long as they're happy. And that's all that's really important. And then growing up with them, I relived my youth. It was kind of exciting to see the joy and happiness. But on the other hand, in the time that I was growing up, and the joke goes, I've been around since Abraham Lincoln, the father had the full responsibility. And it was a patriarchal society more than a matriarchal society. And so we felt the pressure of being a breadwinner and looking after our children and our wives and trying to do everything. And things began to change. And as things changed, as responsibility began to come 50-50. And that's a wonderful thing. But men were taught to be the white knight, at least when I was growing up, to save the damsel in distress. So even though we had our little idiosyncrasies, and how the children make fun of their dads and all the little idiosyncrasies dad does and how he does things, and they're right, and they don't talk too much about their mothers because they're probably smarter. But, and I say that humorously because mothers are very sensitive and caring. Not that fathers aren't, but we're talking traditional roles and their exceptions. But going back as we think about that, the weight of being a father and knowing that you're the breadwinner and you had to take care of your family was an awesome responsibility, but it was a joy, because little did I know that I influenced my children, both my children, to be successful entrepreneurs and be successful in what they're doing today. And indirectly, which was not my game plan, but I became a role model. No less a role model than what their mother was, is indeed what she is a role model. And today we have a great change taking place, or we have. And that change is that there are a lot of families that have no fathers for whatever reason. And I'm not going to address that. And that role of being a mother and a father has fallen upon our females of our life. Not that some males don't have that responsibility, but the overwhelming are on the mothers as well. So they're mother and father. So those that are watching this, and they don't have a father for whatever reason, honor your mother this day as you honored her Mother's Day, but honor her on Father's Day, because she wears two hats. And that's awfully hard to wear two hats. But getting back to being a father and being a role model, most fathers, if not all, want to live a joyous life, but want to live a legacy. Now, I'm sure the mothers do, but I can only speak as a father. And the legacy that I want to leave for my children is that, my motto, you are unlimited. And when I grew up, my mother always said, Michael, you can do anything, which got me in trouble at times because I thought I could do anything. And I ended up with lots of egg on my face. But at the same time, she was inspiring. And with my children, I told them, you can do anything. Yep, nothing's impossible. And now I've changed it to you are unlimited. And if you grow up with that thoughts, and someone in the family says you are unlimited, just think what you could achieve in this lifetime when you become a child, meaning that you can do anything and nothing's impossible. But the legacy of my father, as a father, was to be strong. I learned to take care of my family, to look out for my wife, to protect my wife and my children, and to provide for them, not only as financially, but to be a rock for them, to listen to them, to have joy and happiness, to respect my wife, to teach children to take responsibility, and for them to respect their mother and father, which I will tell you is sorely missing today from our children. That's another story. But being a father means being a leader. And being a leader means that people are going to emulate you by your example. Being a mother applies as well. And I'm not trying to be politically correct, but I'm trying to be honest. Both roles are very, very important. And today, the father, when I was growing up, was a disciplinarian. Today, they switch roles. Sometimes it's mom, sometimes it's the father. And that's a good thing because it teaches respect, something which is sorely missing today. And the father, what they do is not only teach by verbally, but we teach by example. We teach by example of our human frailties, so our children do not emulate our frailties. We teach by being strong, so they can emulate by being strong, but also by being fair, being honest and upfront. When I grew up, I said, why can't I do this? Because I said so. And that was the answer. And if you argue, whack, you didn't argue again. And I think the reason our parents said that, particularly our father, because that's the way they grew up. And they didn't like being questioned because they were the authority, because their father was the authority. So today, it's a little different. We explain to our children why we're this way. We explain that we're not invincible, we're vulnerable. We explain we have feelings. When I was growing up, my father taught me, man never cries. Gotta be tough. And so when my mother passed away, it took me for 5 years before I could cry. Then I realized I'm not vulnerable. I'm being human. I'm a caring, loving man. And that's really important. When you look at women generally, they'll cry more easily, not because they're weak, but because they're caring and sensitive. And we as fathers are now becoming more caring and more sensitive. And that's important for us as a role of our father, to teach our children, to teach everyone around us. We're human, we're vulnerable, we make mistakes, and to own up to our mistakes. And once we own up to our mistakes, we teach our children to be realistic. And when they make a mistake, don't be in denial, don't lie about it, don't think you're invincible, but be honest. Because the most important thing we can be in this day is be honest with each other. But also, as a parent, we need to be a disciplinarian. And by that, I mean we need to teach our children to take responsibility. And that's the role the father had at first. And now it's shared equally. Or it's shared one time, it goes one to the mother, to the father, to the mother. It makes no difference. But that's our responsibility as a father or mother or as an adult, to teach our children right from wrong and to give them a little slack, but also be strong to make them take responsibility. When I was growing up, there was always the jock that was great at athletics. I wanted to be like that, but I wasn't. So I played soccer and I played track. I did well, not great, but I did well. But I realize now more than ever that there's so much in life that's more important. And it's us as a parent to be honest and upfront. I was talking to another person earlier today, and this person is a great father, and he didn't graduate college, but he learned the ethics from his father of working hard. And today he's the vice president of a company. He's about 52, and says, I already got $3 million in my retirement fund. And he didn't finish college. But the ethics he learned from his parents, in this case his father, of hard work, being honest and upfront, helped him become vice president of a company. And that is so important. And as a parent, as a father, we need to teach our children strength and be strong, not spoil them with all the electronics and toys. You know, I get such a kick today. You're grounded, you can't go out. You got to go to your room. So the child goes in, turns on the computer, plays with their tablet. Wow, that's a heck of a punishment. Me, I got all my toys taken away. And of course, I cried and asked for forgiveness and whatever. And I learned. And that's our role as a father, to learn to teach our children right from wrong and take responsibility, to show them how we treat others in our lives. Number one, our wife. Number two, others in our life. You know, the great wisdom I received from my mother, she said to me, Michael, now that you're getting married, I want you to know your parents were the most important persons in your life. But now that you're getting married, your wife is number one, and your children is number two, and your family or your parents are number three. What great words of wisdom for my mother to give me on the day that I was getting married. And I never forgot those words. And I want to share these words with you, to remember that as a father, you have responsibility to your wife, to your children, to your family, and to your parents. And that everything you do and say, your children are listening, even if they're 3 years old. They will remember. You'd be surprised how many adults I work with, and they remember what their mother or father said when they were 2 or 3 years old. And for those who are to be fathers, who are so blessed to have a beautiful woman in their life who is giving birth to something that is beautiful and wonderful, it's going to grow up and change their life and change the world, congratulations. But I want you to understand one thing, and your fathers to be. In the work that I've done, we call it intrauteral, or when you were a fetus inside your mother's womb. And we tend to ignore it's just a fetus and it's developing into a baby, and when the time is right, it will give birth. What you don't realize is every emotion, everything you're doing as a parent, particularly a father in this case, everything you say, that fetus hears. That fetus feels emotionally, and even sound. You know, there used to be a time when I was growing up, you want your baby to be happy, play classical music, and the baby will be so happy, and, you know, it won't be screaming and yelling or upset when it's born. Sound. The fetus heard the sound. And there was an interesting case that I was working on. And this woman had low self-worth, self-esteem, and self-love. And that came out in the fear of abandonment. Now she's 45 years old. And there's a process in which I regressed her to whatever this happened, that she felt this way. And she remembered when she was in her mother's womb, her mother said, I wish I never had this baby. Whether it was 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, 1 month, I don't know the time frame. I never asked. And it changed her life. Because after we were through working together, this fear of abandonment began to go away, which helped her self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. But here's the proof of the pudding. And that is, she went to her mother, said, did you ever wish you were never pregnant, never had a baby? And the mother looked at her and said, how did you know that? No one, I never told anyone. You see? For those fathers and mothers to be, your thoughts, your words, your emotions, that fetus has an intelligence. And it's going to feel it. It's going to hear it. And you are programming that child's life for the rest of their days in a very positive way, complimentary way, in a very negative, challenging way. That's how important it is for each one of us, for the father to also be a rock, to also instruct the child right and wrong, to help the child succeed, to encourage your child, to compliment them, but to also point out when they are doing wrong and to make them take responsibilities other than going to your room and play with your computer and play with your iPad. Think about that. But it's also important for us as a father to open the door and have fun. In my day, when we went out, we went on picnics. Some of you may remember, we'd have fried chicken and potato salad and coleslaw. We travel somewhere, go to a park, open it up, and barbecue or whatever. And I guess that's done to some time, but not as much as it was done in my day. So the things you do as a father, as your children grow up, they're going to reflect on that. They're going to reflect on the happy times. They're also going to reflect on the times when they were challenged. And, I'm a non-denominational minister, and I've performed over 1,000 weddings. So this is not ego. Never realized it, by the way, till my deceased wife said, "You know how many weddings you performed?" Well, I don't know. Well, you have to keep a copy of every wedding, and the file is 5 inches thick. So somebody came over to my house and said, "Well, each inch measures so many people, and you've done over 1,000 weddings." Okay. But when I talked to the fathers and mothers, this is something interesting they said. One of the fathers told me, I was a wild kid. And those days, they were given a choice, either going to jail or joining the Marines or the Army. And they did. And he said the Marine Corps, the Army, or the Navy saved my life. And I talked to the mothers. And they said, my parents were so disciplinarians. They were hard. They'd spank me. But I'm glad they did, because it straightened out my life and made me successful today, earning 6 figures or more. These are women telling me these stories. And men are telling me their stories equally as well. So you see, everything you do, everything you say, and by the way in which you approach people, you are the role model for your children. And as a man, we have to realize to respect everyone. To respect our children, but in a much different way. I'm looking at the time. What time is it to you?
We've got a couple more minutes.
Thank you. So I want to sum this up in saying that knowing that you as a father, as a role model, knowing that you're the legacy, knowing that they're going to emulate you, knowing that they're going to remember the positive and negative of what you're saying and what you're doing. Watch your thoughts. Always be loving. Always be caring. Always be supportive. But always lay down the line and lay it down so that they take responsibility and they know the direction they can go to. Because you're not a successful parent unless your child says, I wish you weren't my mother or father. I wish you weren't here. I wish this or that. Then you know you're successful, because you're making them take responsibility and not running. So on this beautiful day, thank you for letting me share my thoughts. But thank you for letting me explain how a father feels. And thank you, each father, for what you've done for your family and how you care for your family. And thank you, each mother, for being a mother when there's no father in the household, but also wearing the other hat as a father. I know it's not easy, but you are the one person in those children's life that can make a difference, to inspire them to be successful, because you are unlimited and they are now becoming unlimited. Thank you to you. I appreciate it. Happy Father's Day, everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Amazing words of wisdom. Unbelievable. And on that note, I want to just go ahead. We have only a couple minutes left. I want to respect everybody's time. So happy Father's Day to the fathers and the mother, excuse me, and the mothers who wear 2 hats, and everyone else who steps in to fill the role of a father when there isn't one around. Today is your summer solstice. It's the longest day of the year. So now is the time to take the beautiful weather that we have here in the Pacific Northwest or wherever you are, and spend that extra quality time with your children and your families. And there's so much I can say. You know, Michael shared so much, but you know, we only get one moment in time, this moment that we have. So make your Father's Day a memorable day. I know that my dad's gone, but you know what? I always remember the times we went fishing on the lake, all the camping that we did. And, you know, my dad was an awful lot like what Michael described. You know, he was the authoritative disciplinarian, and, you know, things are changing. So we now can step up to emulating an even more diverse role, but always being the example for our children, because that's what it's all about. You know, it's not what we have as much as it is the love that we give and what we share with our children. So on that note, Michael, any last notes?
No, thank you very much, everyone. I want to remind everybody that every Tuesday I have what I call the call-in, where you ask questions, and then I deliver a 10-minute message. And that telephone number is 515-604-9097. That's 515-604-9097. And there's an access code, and that access code is 125446#. That's 125446#. Thank you, everyone. And using those access codes, the second Saturday of every month, we do a mass consciousness healing to change this planet. And goodness, if we know, we have to make a lot of changes. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the Father's Day. Have a good time. Have a wonderful dinner. Spoil each other with lots of hugs and love. No matter whether you're a mother, a father, or a child, we need that. Spoil them with that love and hugs. Thank you. And you know what? Don't wait for Mother's Day or Father's Day. Do that every day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michael. I was just going to say that too. Do that every day, because that's what makes every day special. So on that note, don't forget, Michael, I'll put all his contact information in the comments on this Facebook page. And I just want to thank everybody for sharing a little nugget of your Father's Day moment with us. And have a wonderful, 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 beautiful summer solstice.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you,
Father's
Michael.
Day. Happy summer solstice day. Namaste. Thank you.